Hey, guess what? My dad's been busy making a mess. There's tons of stuff scattered everywhere, but there's a reason for that, and he's doing a fantastic job. He pulled this wall apart, did the wiring in the wall, fixed a lot of stuff that should have been fixed years ago, put a new fuse panel in, or breaker panel, not fuse panel. Well, technically, anyways, you get the idea. And then up there, insulated and sheeted that, painted it. Dude, he's kicking butt in the shop. It's awesome. And then he's working over here on this side, because that side there was exposed. There's a couple wiring things that he wants to address on that. And he got that sheeted, insulated, and painted. And we got some good news. So our phase converter, yeah, we went ahead and hooked it up. We did not show you guys that because, well, we didn't know what we were doing. So we didn't want to be the example of do it this way and then find out it's not the right way. So we went ahead and just figured it all out. We had a little bit of a complication. For whatever reason, our phase converter panel wasn't putting out a full 3-phase when we first got it going. Why? We don't know. And then all of a sudden the next day it was working. But what we did find out is, so right down there, there's a electric motor that's special. How it works is you run 220 to this panel. Then when you turn it on, it activates the electric motor down below underneath the lathe, which then turns it into 3-phase with a bunch of resistors and, no, sorry, not resistors. Oh, I'm drawing a blank, guys. Come on. My brain is so, I have so many problems with my brain. Anyways, there's a bunch of really cool stuff inside this unit that turns it into 3-phase. Once that electric motor's going, and you know what, let's just do this. It should be the breaker on. There we go. That's all the way on. Once that's on, this lathe is ready for 3-phase to kick on. The lathe is on, you adjust your speeds, whatever you might need, do the gear ratios, and then to activate the lathe, there's a switch down here on the bottom that you pull it out, push down goes one way, pull it out, lift up goes the other way. So we basically have a working lathe here, guys. Oh, this is cool. That's pretty awesome. And you know what's really sweet? As that's going, I can select a different speed. And it will change it as I go. It's pretty cool. This is a pretty sweet setup. Now I have not yet turned any chips on this thing yet. I still have to get some time on here and figure out how to run it, and I know I will. But it works. Like that's the key. It actually works. I mean, isn't that cool? So as I was inspecting this, I took the cover off on one side and then I was just going to tilt it and look at it. Well, the pins slid out and a lot of these gears slid out, and so they're out of order, and I'm not sure which way they went in because I wanted to keep everything in order, and I messed up. So, but the thing is, it's not like this loader is like a really well-used loader at a mining facility. It's on our farm. A little bit of pattern changes on the wear on the gears probably isn't going to make or break, but be honest, these look really, really good. So I think since I already messed up, I'm just going to go ahead and just pull it apart and put it all in a box. We'll clean everything up and then we'll go from there. Now, the book tells us exactly what the pattern and everything that it needs to be in order to put it back together. So I'm not too worried about that. And as of right now, the bearings and everything that I'm looking at looks really good. Like there's no, I don't see anywhere on any of these, so that's really good. So this slid in like that, like so. I'll try to keep the other ones, I guess try to keep them in order, because that's out. We'll inspect, and we'll clean this all up before we actually assemble it. But these needle bearings look really, really good. I don't see any problem with that. So now, set that there. Here's a spacer that they had. Goes on top. Pull the pin out. Uh-oh, something that popped out. There's a ball bearing. Okay, where did that ball bearing come from? Let's take this, slide that on. That looks pretty good. Where did that ball bearing come from? As a concern of mine, just one. That all looks good there. Okay, so this is the order. I can match those other ones up to that. Still pretty heavy. Okay, there's that pin. So this goes on this side. So these ball bearings keep the pins lined up so they don't rotate. That's what they're for. Okay. Now I'm not so concerned. Stick that in there like that. I bet you this one's got one too. Okay, don't break that gasket. So you see that right there? There's the ball bearing. So they just keep them from rolling and spinning, which is smart. That. Just got one more to do. Okay, that baby's heavy. So now the next step is, in the book, it talks about how to remove all of this to check these clutch packs. I don't know what it does, but it's got a purpose, and I'm figuring it out. Obviously, I'm not doing any cleaning. I'm just going to take it apart, inspect the bands, see if I see anything else that looks really not good. But, so it's got a piston inside of here. Okay, so I can see where, I'm just going to do this. Just look at each plate. They don't look bad at all. Really, that one looks good. I think we're getting lucky on this part. Now the other thing too I'm inspecting is each one of these metal bands here, or big huge washers, I'm checking to see if there's any cracks, because there's a lot of pressure in between each of these bands. And with the bands being got pressure on it, sometimes, and they'll see like if like semis have multiple clutches in one clutch for your transmission, they can get stress cracks and break. And so will this do the same? Possibly not, but just checking anyways. And so far, everything in here looks really good. Boy, they got a lot of these things. Now I see residue of that fine silvery paste, little tiny particles. So obviously it mixed it into this, and these need to be cleaned up really well. This one band has got a little like aluminum or metal squished into it. You can see a tiny little flake. I'm gonna put it all back together and we'll come back. When we're ready to build the transmission, hopefully we get to that stage, we will then take everything apart and clean it thoroughly. Because if I clean it now and you put it on a shelf for a little while, if it gets moved and dirt residue floats in the air, gets contaminated again, then when you put it back together in the transmission, you have the chance of stuff getting in there. So if we're rebuilding it on the spot as we go, then we can make sure everything's clean. That's why I'm not going to clean this right now, and I'm not cleaning anything else. After inspecting this set of clutches, or they call them clutch brakes, I believe, drive discs, maybe that's not a clutch brake, they looked okay. I mean, there was still a lot of life in the, so they got this sketch pattern that they have. So you see that cross hatch kind of material? There's quite a bit left on it. It's not all wore off. So I'm really not worried about on any of these clutch bands or brakes or what do you want to call them. I think they're all going to be really good. I didn't see any cracking between the discs. The only thing that was major that so far that I see is there's some bushings here that I'll probably have to try to find new bushings in this, which is not hard to do. And those are simple, there's nothing to them. The splines and teeth and all that looks really good on those shafts. But like I said, the major problem we have is the planetary, oh, what do they call this thing? Planet pistons? Nope. Anyways, that thing. Some kind of planetary planet thingy to return myself. But it's wore down just enough on this shoulder and that shoulder down there where the bushings ride. There's a shop I know of, and I'm going to take it to them and see if they can either build that surface up so they can build it bigger, and then they can turn it down to match those bushings, and then we'll just get the same bushings, and then that's the way we can do it. Or the other option is, because I don't think I'm skilled enough to make nice, clean-looking bushings, they'll cut this down, and they'll make their own bushings to take up the distance, like the gap. So yeah, that's kind of what we got going on. But yeah, other than that, I don't see any really major problems with this transmission. It definitely can be rebuilt and put back to use. Just that one planetary housing, that's what kind of makes me concerned. And we can't find any parts for it because they discontinued this loader, and yeah, that's the gist of that. But I think we are good to go. Let's start putting stuff away, put it on the shelf. There's no point of trying to put this thing all back together and make it all clean and get it figured out if we can't get this squared away right here. That's the major problem. Now, some of you were like, it's not grooved out that bad. It'll run. Yeah, it probably would, but go to all this work, it'd be a shame to not fix that the right way. So, anyways, yep, I think that we're good with this transmission for the most part. The next thing we got to do, obviously, is the torque converter housing. We got to go over here and wash this thing all off, take these tubes and hoses and all that stuff off to access the charge pump and the torque converter itself, pull that apart. I've never done one of those before. This will be a learning experience. I don't think there's really a whole lot that needs to be done to it. Like, it's pretty easy in the book. It shows how to pull it all apart. It makes you nervous what you find inside that though, because that one could be bad. But the thing is, this torque converter and that transmission are not a match set. Years ago, I found this torque converter housing on eBay, and Nick found this somewhere else. So this, I need to finish washing that. But there's a possibility that that is okay. It just needs to be cleaned up. Won't know until we dig into it. So yeah, there's that. It is time for me to mess around with the lathe. I want to say thank you to a lot of you guys out there, because I was never really aware of this, and you know, you learn something new every day. You remember those big rubber pads we had underneath this lathe? A lot of you said, don't do that, not a smart idea, and you were absolutely right about that. And I didn't fully understand until I did some research and watching videos and listening to you guys. So I removed those pads, and this lathe came with all these little weird things that I didn't know what they were for, and I understand now. These are basically like feet. So on each one of these corners, you have 6 adjustment points on the lathe, and those feet can go underneath, and then you can adjust your lathe and get it level. Now, the way that we did it was, well, the farmer way of doing it. That is not the correct way to do it. Apparently, the correct way to do it, which I'm thankful that you guys kind of called us out on it, is you got to have a special level that's designed to level lathes and tooling equipment and so forth. Luckily for me, I had a friend in town that I called and said, hey, or texted, and he called me back. Like, do you happen to have one of those levels for lathes? He's like, yep, you need it? I was like, yeah, I need it. Don't know what I'm doing, but I'm learning. He's like, okay, yeah, come by and get it. This is a very special type of level. And from my understanding is you want the lathe and the level to be the same temperature in the room before you start anything, because it can be, well, you can get it off. So there's a bubble in there that's very bubbly, and this is very precise. The main thing that you need to do on this lathe is really, I'm not going to worry about this right now. I'm just going to worry about my whole entire, this big massive thing right here that my skid and everything goes on. I want to make sure that it's level this way on both ends. And then I watched a video of a guy, when he did his, he had it slightly tilted this way, just a tiny, tiny bit. Because if you're running fluid, which I probably will be, he wanted the fluid to just barely run off all of his skids and run towards the sump, which is on that end. So I'm gonna do the same thing as him. Is that the correct way of doing it? I liked what he did. We'll find out. But from my understanding, I really need to clean the surface, make sure everything is really clean, and then I will start adjusting legs and going from there. That looks pretty good right there. And then when you go towards the front, let's just say like this, got it at a very slight slope. Now you're probably wondering, why am I using these shims? Don't worry, these things they're very clean and very flat. I use them a lot, and I made sure that I wiped them down really good, because I have to get over this hump right here that they have on the other side for the skid. There's not a flat surface. I know that this and this is going to be the same flat surface. So if I take the level and I put it on those 2 points, looks pretty good. And then obviously when I go this way, it still has a slight slope. So I wanted the whole lathe to be tilted down like this. It's level this way, which is what I need. Now the next thing I need to figure out, I'm gonna go back and watch another video on YouTube because it's very helpful and handy. But I need to put my chuck back on, and then I have to figure out how to level this part. I gotta refresh my memory. I've watched so many different videos, it's hard to keep track of what I've seen, so yeah. But so far I like how that's turning out. The next step for me is to start turning some chips. I haven't turned any chips, played with this thing, besides just spinning it briefly, and then that's that. So I got my tool post all figured out, and I think it's about time for me to see what I can do. So, first step is eye protection. Second step is to make sure that you don't have the key or the chuck, key in the chuck. Then let's turn our phase converter on. Okay. Then I gotta go down here and turn the electric motor on. There we go, lathe is going. Ooh, that's slick. Okay, let's see what we can do. Wow, I can already tell how much more precise this is compared to my other one. It's nuts. I love it. So what I gotta do here is I gotta get my carbide bit adjusted so it's cutting at the right level, and I knew I was gonna have to do this. So I'm raising it up a little bit. I have to go a little bit more. Once I get it where I want, then I can lock it down. I think. Oh, that is slick. Man, that is so much more precise and smooth. Like, I don't feel the crazy chattering. Like the other one, I felt it. Like every time I would cut something, I could just feel, and it wasn't like it was bad, it just, you could feel it. Like, but there's just so much meat on this compared to my other one that, well, let's just say it's pretty sweet. I gotta learn how to run it now. All right, that's locked down. Okay, that's a fast speed. Let's go to A. Let's try A. Okay, that's the same. Let's try this. There we go. So now let's do this. Okay, I think I figured out how to get that to work, but how do I go faster? Nice. That is nice.